Hello everybody and welcome back to LRN, where we are reacting to the news that Andreas Seidl has decided to leave McLaren and join, well, Alfa Romeo, but of course them transitioning into Audi Motorsport from 2026. He's made that decision, it's with immediate effect, and they have Andrea Stella replacing Andreas Seidl at McLaren immediately. So of course, we've also had the news that Vasseur has been confirmed at Ferrari, and I think that is very much linked to this news. We talked about at the time that Vasseur would definitely be interested in the Ferrari role, and why. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that he knew Audi was coming in. He knew that they would want a German team principal, German drivers, German engineers. They've very much always been a German-centric team, Audi, when they've been in motorsport in the past. So it certainly makes a lot of sense for Vasseur, even though, of course, Ferrari has those high standards. It is a bit of a job risk if he goes there and it doesn't work out. He could, of course, lose his position on the F1 grid. But I think he knew that staying at Alfa Romeo was always going to be a short-term prospect because Audi were going to want to replace him. And I think this kind of an opportune moment for Audi, because they can see this. They can see that, of course, an opportunity has happened for Vasseur for him to naturally move over to Ferrari. And they have absolutely taken this opportunity to get a massive head start on their project in Formula One and probably bring in their #1 target for the team principal position. Put in the groundwork for the 2026 season when, of course, they finally come into the sport. And they want to make sure they've got everyone in place so that they've got the right people designing the car, getting the right processes, helping to set the team up right so that from 2026 they are ready to compete. So from Audi's perspective, this is a huge coup and a massive, massive win in their project to be fighting at the front of the grid from when they join Formula One. They do not want to be a team that comes in and has to work for years and years before they reach their goal. They don't want to be doing what Aston Martin are doing at the moment and floundering around at the back trying to work out next steps. They want to come in fighting at the front. Now, whether they achieve that or not is a completely different question, but you know that's what they want to do. And I think that bringing in Seidl now, 3 years before, that really they need to be ready for the 2026 season, is a huge, huge statement of intent. But for McLaren, this is a huge loss. McLaren have been massively focused on being a championship winning outfit again from sort of 2025. That's their aim. That's when all their new infrastructure, new wind tunnel, new facilities were going to be ready and will have actually designed and built a car from for the 2025 season. And Seidl's a huge part of that project. So for McLaren to lose him now is going to be a huge blow. And they know it's a step back for him to go to, of course, Alfa from McLaren. But long term, this is basically a statement from Seidl that either he sees Audi as the better project, potentially the more chance of success in the sport. It may just be that, as a German, he wants to work for a German team, or it could be that Audi have come along and offered him a boatload of money to leave McLaren, pay off his contract and come and work for them. And it could have just been a better financial project, situation for him to go to Audi. Maybe he might get a little bit more time at home if he's around the offices in Germany rather than in Britain. There could be loads of factors to this, but I think at least in a small part, he must see Audi as a better project in the world of F1 than McLaren. And I think for McLaren, who are a giant of the sport, who everyone's kind of been waiting, expecting that season where suddenly McLaren are there fighting with Ferrari, fighting with Mercedes and Red Bull, because they are that big a name. They do carry that much weight. And for someone like Seidl, who was such a key part of McLaren's project to get back to winning ways, to get back to challenging to wins, to leave now when Audi aren't even joining the sport for another, 3 and a bit years, it's really going to be hard for McLaren to take. And of course, I'm sure they've got faith in Andrea Stella to step up and fill the void. But that wasn't their first choice. They definitely wanted Seidl to be retained and see them through to the end of this project where they really genuinely believed they would be challenging again. And I think there's another aspect to this, of course, with Lando Norris. I think Lando Norris could see that someone like Seidl, someone so pivotal to McLaren's future success in the way that it's been pitched to him, ended up leaving McLaren. And we know that Norris has had conversations behind the scenes with other teams like Red Bull. Obviously not anything official or formal, but really, informal chats about what it would take maybe for him to leave or whether he'd be interested. And we know the answer is that he is. He does have a bit of loyalty to McLaren. But if people like Seidl start to leave and it starts to wane his belief in the project of McLaren, I would not be surprised if they lost him before they even had the chance to give him a championship challenging car, which again, we don't expect till 2025. And we know that contracts in Formula One are there to be broken. So with this news, it makes me more concerned for McLaren that Norris could be moving on earlier. And of course, that would be a huge, huge gain to potentially other teams. We know Red Bull are interested. We talked about the dream team of, well, from Red Bull's perspective anyway, of having Norris and Verstappen in the same car. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if Ricciardo ended up missing out on a seat at Red Bull because Norris ended up coming in and basically usurping his opportunity there as well? But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And of course, we don't know how successful Audi are going to be, but this statement of intent for me really shows that they're going to be there, right? They're not going to be floundering at the back. It may take them a couple of seasons to get there. We don't know how good their engine is going to be. Is their engine going to be really good off the bat, or are they going to have sort of Honda years where it takes them a couple of years to get up to speed and then they kick on and they start to compete? There's so many sort of variables here that we cannot just say Audi, the name, is going to come in and smash it in Formula One. But I certainly think they're going to do everything they can and bring in the very best people to give them the best opportunity at success, the best opportunity to compete with those at the front. And I think push McLaren one space further down the F1 pecking order, depending on how successful McLaren's plan is without Andreas Seidl in terms of implementing their facilities and using that wind tunnel to success of giving Lando Norris and Piastri at the moment, but whoever his teammate is at the time, a championship challenging car. So huge loss for McLaren, massive win for Audi. And again, I think with Vasseur, he's made the right choice. I think he would have been replaced by Audi anyway because he isn't German. So he's made the right move by going over to Ferrari, even though, of course, the pressure there is just astronomical. But good luck to Vasseur at Ferrari. It was the expected news that he would go there. We, of course, also had the news that Jost Capito has left Williams. I know that sort of came out as a shock, but really it isn't. It wasn't really huge news to me. I think he was brought in because by the new owners of Williams, basically as a stopgap. They knew that he was ready to sort of cease his career in motorsport. He was sort of looking to retire, but he did those owners a favour by coming in, helping them get on board and learn the world of Formula One and working as that sort of go-between. And now that they've sort of settled in, the new owners are there, they're ready to sort of think about their long-term project. Jost has obviously made that decision to move on and go back to the plans he originally had, which I'm assuming will be taking some time out of work and motorsport to go and focus on family and other interests that he may have. So they'll now bring in a more long-term solution. As I say, Jost was never a long-term appointment. He was doing them a favour. He, of course, I'm sure he loved it, and I think he did a pretty good job. But he was never there for the long term, and he's now made that decision to move on. So good luck to Jost as well. I wish him all the best in his future career. But I look forward to seeing who they bring in as well. And who knew we'd have a second silly season? Of course, the silly season is normally reserved for drivers in Formula One. We normally get it mid-season. And now we're getting a second one for team principals in the winter. And if we get this every year, fantastic. It does add a bit of excitement. But as I say, this is a bad day for McLaren. Huge blow. But also, in terms of the full grid in Formula One and the excitement of Audi joining the world of Formula One, I know it's a few years away, but this really does add some excitement for me, looking ahead to having potentially another team up there, challenging, fighting for race wins, adding another couple of drivers to the mix when it comes to race weekend, who's going to compete. And if we can end up potentially over the next couple of years in a situation where we have both Mercedes drivers, both Red Bull drivers, both Ferrari drivers, both Audi drivers, and if they continue and their plan does still come to fruition, even without Andreas Seidl, you could even have McLaren up there as well. The margins could be tiny. It could be completely track dependent. We could have different race winners every week. And I know I'm asking for a lot, but that is what I want to see. And I think that this is at the very least a positive sign that at least one team is looking genuinely to try and breach that mold, those top three teams, and get in there and fight with them. And that is something I'm really all for and really looking forward to. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that Seidl's made the right decision to leave McLaren to go to that Audi project? Do you think that's going to be the successful move to him, or do you just think he's done it for money, or done it just because he wants to maybe spend a bit more time at home in the in the weeks off that he gets, has to spend less time in Britain, more time in Germany? Is it just money? Is it the project? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Really want to know what you think. Has Vasseur made the right move? I think, as I say, I think he was going to be replaced anyway, so he's guaranteed his future in F1 at least for a season or two by moving on to Ferrari. But let me know if you think he's going to be a success as well. Hit a like on the video if you did enjoy it. If you are new around here, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe on the bottom right hand side. It all helps support the channel and I'll really appreciate it. Otherwise, just going to thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.